Well, this week on Grace to Stand, I can't believe what I'm about to say. But Darin and I are going to be talking about Taylor Swift. And it may be a little bit of a different take from all the stuff out there. I don't know. It's not, we're not trying to jump on the bandwagon, but we do have some concerns. Isn't that right, Darin?
If Taylor Swift becomes one of our top 5 most listened to episodes, I will have grave concerns about the state of the American
I'm
church.
afraid. I know. I'm afraid to. I know. I'm afraid to even have the conversation because this is one of those like it's like you're touching the third rail. It's like, the Super Bowl obviously has brought a lot of this to prominence, but this does seem to be the year for Taylor Swift. I mean, her whole career, which has been an impressive career, and she's still a very young lady, but with the Eras tour and then dating Travis Kelce, and
the stars kind of aligned with it, didn't it? I mean, with her tour and the whole NFL season just seemed to have this Taylor Swift angle to it the whole year. It's very odd.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Well, and that's, that's why the whole joke has been like, that's why the Chiefs won. And, because
it's a rigged system.
Yeah. He's got, every touchdown they're showing Taylor Swift. And then, I don't know, I haven't followed it enough, but apparently her and Travis Kelce, apparently they're pro-vaccine. And so we were saying, Pfizer's involved and I don't know about any of that. I just have growing concerns about her influence as an example of cultural influence in Christian homes. Not that we're not canceling Taylor Swift. At least I'm not. I don't think you are. I mean, we're not trying to say, burn Taylor Swift albums. But I think the necessary disclaimer, and you could already see our discomfort in having this conversation, or at least mine, is we're not canceling Taylor Swift, but there are very big issues. And I do have concerns when I see little girls running around in Christian homes who are obsessed with this lady who does not embody Christian ethics, Christian principles, and actually hostile to actual traditional Christian values. So that's kind of my intro on it. Darin, what do you think?
Right. I mean, this is certainly not a new problem or a new. I don't even know if problem's the word. New challenge. Throughout the course of much of American pop culture history. I mean, you think back even to maybe around the 60s, I would imagine that if there were church podcasts going on back in the 60s, there would be all these concerns about the Beatles and Elvis and
they were burning albums. And
right.
I remember, not that I was old enough, but in the late 70s, early 80s, I remember my grandparents and certain aunts and uncles were kind of in that circle where you come to Christ, you burn all these albums.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, I look in my own period of memories, and I'm thinking of, of Madonna and Britney Spears and that whole crew of people.
Britney Spears.
American pop. Yeah, right. I mean, pop culture and the entertainment industry in America is always pushing the envelope, always pushing to the next extreme. And any kind of coverage media coverage and attention is good attention. And I mean, I think that we see that on the covers of magazines that you see in the grocery store and in pop culture in general. But I'm with you, George. I mean, the concern is almost there are some concerning things about some of Taylor Swift's music and some of Taylor Swift's, and certainly Taylor Swift's political positions, which is something that I think is a newer trait of the entertainment industry, where they're really leaning into a lot of the political, social issues of the day. But
that goes in cycles, right? Because some entertainers and musicians were activists and others weren't. And
exactly.
so it ebbs and flows, but it's certainly
But they all are
is very
today, and
much
athletes too. Athletes
yes,
used to stay out
yes,
of that for the most part, but they're really
yeah,
getting into it. And I think the whole point, though, that you and I are in our off the record discussions about this have been that there's just seems to be an idolization of this this musician who is remarkably talented, who is an incredible entertainer, who is probably someone who's going to stand the test of a pretty significant period of time. I mean, where particularly young women and girls are they're just all wrapped up in who she is, and the danger being that what she is advocating and what is even coming through in her music is very much at odds with what it means to be a follower of Christ. And I think that is a
yes,
lot of our concern.
yeah, and we're going to get into that because then how do you expect? Why are you surprised when your kids become teenagers and leave the home where they don't understand Christian ethics anymore when they're learning when they're being
Mm-hmm.
catechized by that. So what I do want to I want to start off by just saying some good things about her,
Mm-hmm.
and because again this is a image bearer
Right.
of God. I mean God's image is on her, and she claims to be a Christian. I don't believe. I mean I think you'll know them by their fruit, and I think there's enough
Mm-hmm.
evidence of particularly her public statements, uh, but also other things that can tell us like that is in question. But in general, I mean, I think she is very talented, very
Mm-hmm.
successful. I remember when early on, I don't remember which award ceremony it was. It's over 10 years, maybe 15 years ago. Who knows how long now? I think it was it Kanye West or somebody like stormed the stage and took the
Right.
award from her
Right.
and tried
Right.
to like because he was saying some other person should have won this, and she was just a really young lady. It was really kind of horrifying. Um, and I felt bad for her, and I didn't even know. I mean, I can only say I don't know any Taylor Swift anything. I don't know any songs. I'm sure if I heard one, I'd recognize. I think I recognize her voice. The only song I do know is one I'll talk about later, which is "You Need to Calm Down" or you something like that,
Right.
because it's anti-Christian. If it weren't for the ideological stuff, I think she's a great role model. I think she's
Mm-hmm.
respectable. I think she's done it right. But again, there's an ideology there that
Mm-hmm.
we need to consider critically as Christians. I think
She
she's been
came
mostly wholesome, except for the boy crazy thing that she kind of embodies
right.
for young people. But I think she's mostly wholesome. I think she's been fun. I think she's talented. She sings awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some things I would
She
say.
came to prominence in her teen years, and I think that was a much more innocent age. She didn't go straight Miley Cyrus. She had kind of
Even
a
Miley Cyrus didn't go straight Miley Cyrus.
no, she didn't.
But
No,
anyway,
she didn't. She didn't. Yeah, her dad, Billy Ray, his heart definitely became achy breaky as she got into her 20s and off of Hannah
right.
Montana for sure. Why are we talking about Hannah Montana? Never would I have
How
ever
do we
guessed
go
that
there?
we would have been on this topic.
Oh,
But no, the thing is that she she had I think she resonates very much uh, with a lot of young women and teenage girls. I mean, much of what what she sings about, and I do know a number of her songs to my honor or shame. I do.
will you
But
sing? Will you
well,
sing
but
for us?
there's a song that she sings called 15, and it's and it, there a lot of the songs that she sings are very relatable to a high school aged girl who is trying to find herself, trying to navigate relationships with boys, navigate relationships in the world, find out who they are. I mean, that it's a period of life in your teen years and your early 20s. I mean, she sings this song that was a great hit called 22. That, I mean, I think that if you're
You're a
22,
Swiftie.
oh, I am a
I
little bit of a
didn't.
Swiftie, and I really, she's a remarkably talented entertainer and remarkably talented singer. She writes her own songs. It's not as if someone else writes her songs, and I mean, she writes her songs and writes the music to it. She's really she's a musician. She's truly gifted, but what she sings about just so resonates with a
Mm,
certain demographic of American teens and folks in their 20s who are just navigating the complexities of life and trying to figure things out. And she has a very uh, genuine disposition. She looks like someone that you could relate to, and she's a remarkable entertainer. And so all of that combined together, and you see these concerts that, I mean, I don't know how many, 50, 60,000 people going to her concerts, and the tickets for these things are not cheap. I mean, you're not, these are not, I mean, people are spilling serious sums of money to go to these concerts. And
and that, even that, like, I remember, again, I don't know if it was 10 years ago. I'm at the age now where something could be 1 year or 10 years ago, and I have no idea. But like, I mean, I remember, like, it was kind of out there. Like, is it the end of the big performances? Like, people can no longer fill stadiums, kind of thing. You know, you think of, I mean, you and I were Gen X. We
mhm.
grew up, everything was the big stadium, rock concert or
Oh,
whatever. But
right.
no, Taylor Swift is doing it.
She's doing it. She's doing it in a time where everything is so fractured. I mean, in other words, there's a niche. There are a million different niche markets for things, and television shows and so forth. It used to be where you know we remember when Seinfeld was on, or Beverly Hills 90210. That was in my high school days, and all of life would sort of stop on Thursday night at 9 o'clock to watch this one.
That's
I
right.
mean, and that's how it was. Well, that of course is not like
Yeah.
that anymore because of streaming and so forth. And but you're right. I mean, Taylor Swift is selling out the stadiums wherever she goes, and
Yeah.
and so what is the
And
why are we
by the way,
talking about
across
this? Like,
demo.
what's the concern? The concern is that there is an idolatry. It appears to be that there's truly an idolatry of someone who in many respects seems to be disguising herself as an angel of light. And that's really what the enemy seeks to do. Like, there's so many good and pure things about Taylor Swift, but there
Mm,
are some things about her and things that she's advocating for that if you just wholesale embrace it, or you uncritically approach her and her music, then you start, I mean, she's preaching a message, right? I mean, you get up there every Lord's Day and you preach for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, however long you preach, and and that's your preaching to the people. But Taylor Swift, I mean, she's you're getting hit by her and her whole mojo that comes out, and that's a message that's getting preached, and in many respects there's so many good things, and they're mixed with some very nefarious things that can subvert the faith of our young people in particular. And when you think of what the Lord's calls us to be as fathers and mothers and parents, to raise our children in the nurture and instruction of the Lord, and to teach them to love the Lord their God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to talk about these things when you lay down and when you rise, and as you walk in the way, as you read in Deuteronomy 6. Um, you're speaking to them something very different than what they're getting from all that is coming from someone like a star like Taylor Swift, and others as well.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk about some of just her public statements, and then we can see how we can discuss how that affects
Mhm.
the home.
Right.
So I'm going to pull up one here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's her Twitter account in 2022. She says, I'm absolutely terrified that this is where we are, that after so many decades of people fighting for women's rights to their own bodies, today's decision has stripped us of that. And so she's retweeting a Michelle Obama
Mm-hmm.
tweet about the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and Taylor Swift very much, again, like part of her own story is women's empowerment, which,
Right.
I want my daughter to grow up to be a strong, confident woman. And Taylor Swift, whether it was, again, I think it's Kanye who took the award from her or took the microphone
Mm-hmm.
from her, or her own getting her rights back to her music from whoever her manager was, or I don't know, the company, maybe the label. There's this sort of women's empowerment message that resonates, like you said, and she kind of can do it all. I mean, she could sing these songs. She looks trendy. She's trying to empower women. She embodies that, and then she says stuff like this. So, what do you think daughters who are following her are saying? Or this one.
Mm-hmm.
So this song in particular, "You Need to Calm Down," and it has trans and LGBTQ activists, and they're dancing around, and the whole message is like sort of to marginalize the Christian viewpoint, acting like we're just, you're just screaming at gay people and you're mean, and you just need to calm down. They're just living their
Mm-hmm.
life. Look how joyful. And this is how they portrayed the Christians. Like
By the
you,
way, look how they portray the Christians. Look at
yeah,
that. Look at, if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you go to Taylor Swift's music video of "You Need to Calm Down," they portray these Christians to be the most backwards people on the face of God's green earth.
it's a tactic, right? Like we are going to take the extreme wing of a position and then use that extreme wing to characterize the entire position. And this is what your kids are seeing. And so, who wants to be associated with this group of supposed Christians that you see on this screen here when you
Right.
see like all these fun loving trans and LGBT people just trying to live their life? And then you have, you know, people being portrayed as savages who are Christians, who are just
Mm-hmm.
backwards, people. And well, yeah, we don't want to be like them. So why,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Taylor Swift is right. Like people just need to calm down, And then you have churches who are promoting, I'm pulling up another one. So this is from the PC USA sermon series at Brentwood Presbyterian Church in
Mm-hmm.
LA invites Taylor Swift to help tell the good news of Jesus Christ. So here, yeah, this is the PC USA. You expect that, and look at how beautiful, the message
Right.
is. But like you have the Gospel Coalition,
Right.
doing that. And they
Right.
had mud all over their face as this guy was just gushing over the Eros tour, and
Yeah.
the Gospel Coalition had to pull down the article,
Right.
because it's just heinous. Like what are you promoting,
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say in 2016 this article is still on the Gospel Coalition's website, and it's written by Trevin Wax in 2016, and it says the gospel according to Taylor Swift. And as I read it, I actually think, okay, this is an appropriate use of this. Like, not as if she's telling the actual gospel, but what is the good news according to her? What is the
Mm-hmm.
messaging in her songs? Now Trevin then spins it and says, see, there's a longing in all our hearts. And, it's the sort of the missional thing to do, is to find out what we really want. But
Mm-hmm.
the gospel, according to Taylor Swift, is like, again, it's self-empowerment, self-discovery. And then he asks these questions. How does Taylor Swift really know that she's found herself? How does she know the lookalike on the beach isn't just a mirage? Will her next relationship be simply another avenue for her to find more of herself? And it kind of talks about, you know, uh, something that I do, where I look at society and I look at the things that people are valuing, supporting, singing, promoting, and seeking satisfaction in. That is their gospel, but those things are not going to satisfy. because only Jesus Christ can satisfy. And then we point people to Christ. And so like the point is like that was an article on TGC and it still is, but then they write this other article about how wonderful the Eros tour is. And I'm thinking, okay, so you have her marginalizing Christians, acting like a Christian sexual ethic of one man and one woman being married is just one among many options. And anyone who holds to that as the only true Christian sexual ethic are bigots. You know, the church is misogynistic, that abortion is about a woman's body, not about a life in a womb that's made in the image of God. And you're having your little girls dress up like Taylor Swift and be a part of Swifties and make banners and worship her in the home. And then you wonder why your kids leave the church or go to some church like that is about social activism, but not about the gospel. That a liberal theological church. That it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing in our homes? I'm not telling you if a Taylor Swift song comes on the radio and you happen to be listening to the radio, you got to turn it off. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is, what are you allowing to shape your children in your homes?
Right. So much of this, George, seems to be with a confusion in the church with how we approach popular culture. And I don't pretend to have all the answers to that. But we're not, and I just reiterate what you're saying. I mean, we're not saying to cancel Taylor Swift or boycott Taylor Swift or boycott, so many, other stars who may be in a similar lane of the world. What we're saying is we've got to approach these people with critically. We've got to approach these people with a Christian and a biblically framed set of lenses, which means that we can appreciate what we can appreciate, but by and large, we need to say, this is women's empowerment. If you want to have strong girls, you don't look to Taylor Swift for that, and you don't look to most of the folks in the world to elevate strong girls and strong women, because what they're doing is a subversion of much of what the scriptures actually teach. If you want to raise strong women, take them to church and have them read the word and have them serve one another in the church and have them befriend lonely and outsider type people and have them work hard for the glory of God and have them pursue the things that are honoring to him and have them think about what is coming at them and the messages that are being proclaimed to them through the media and through music and through popular culture, and to filter those things through the grid of the scriptures so that they'll be able to be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields fruit in its seasons, as we read in Psalm 1, people who meditate on the law of the Lord day and night. I mean, feed them with that, catechize them, place them. That's how you raise a strong woman. That's how you raise a strong girl, not by letting them sit under the messages of worldliness, which the message of the world is, if you want to be a strong person, you have to fight for your own autonomy and live according to your own rules, without any of the shackles of the patriarchal culture that we live in, or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's the message that the world and that Taylor Swift is passing out. And you look at that song and it's disparaging to the church. I mean, it is disparaging to the people for whom Christ died. I mean, she props up the most backwoods Neanderthal looking people that she could possibly find, and dresses them all up in such a way, and portrays them as that's what the Christians are, and we're the people truly full of joy, the sexually liberated folks, the people who are living according to their own rules and have that autonomy.
Mm. Yeah, Darin, you said, I mean, there was a lot of amazing things you said there about pursuing the good, the pure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was thinking back to the 2013 Super Bowl, and not because I honestly don't even really watch football, but I was teaching a class at a former church in this. The Super Bowl happened, and the halftime show was Destiny's Child. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
reunion of these women from Destiny's Child, Beyonce
Mm-hmm.
and others, and it was completely inappropriate for kids to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so you had, the most watched event of the entire year of anything, and with families, and like I don't know how people could let their kids watch that. I just couldn't. And it was all about women's empowerment and all that. And I remember making comments like that about in a class I was teaching on the culture. I happened to be teaching something on the culture in a Sunday school class, and I mentioned that. And then I had one mother like raise her hand and say, "Well, I think it was wonderful." And like, what do you say? Here I'm an elder, and I didn't say it harshly. I probably even just said it more harshly now than I said it during the class, and I just basically what was the message of this episode, which is, what are we letting into our homes, and
Mm-hmm.
how are we catechizing our kids, and who's catechizing our kids? And then I have somebody say, well, I think it was just beautiful and wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And this person had a number of kids. The girls grew up to live just like what they were seeing in that Super Bowl performance.
Mm-hmm.
And look, our kids can go astray. We know that. But when you are promoting something as beautiful that is not, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Right.
The sexualization of women on stage and is not beautiful.
Right.
It's teaching a version of womanhood that is not biblical. It
Mm-hmm.
is raging against the Creator, and I've seen the fruit of it in the homes of people's lives that think it's okay to just uncritically, not even uncritically, celebrating the culture in their home because we're trying to celebrate common grace or something. And I just don't understand why there can't be a separation. Look, I listen to the radio in my car, right? And in the car, I listen to country music. And country music has gotten, it's either a song about pickup trucks, alcohol, or girls,
Mm-hmm.
So a song will come on, often I'll switch the station, or sometimes I'll listen to it with my kids and then we'll talk about it. What's the message of that? And what do you think about that? And I'll engage them in such a way to think critically through the thing. And so that's why I'm not saying if you listen to the radio, I mean, some people may say, don't listen to anything, don't watch anything, don't watch movies.
We're not saying that.
I'm actually not saying that, because I
Right.
think I'm able to engage with those things. Ike Reeder talks about this quite a bit with Harry, with his dad, okay, so what's the worldview being shown here, son? And I think we can do that. I think we could celebrate, as we've already sort of have acknowledged her,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift's talent, mind, success,
Mm-hmm.
but also say she's wrong here. And this is also a tale of woe because she supposedly grew up in a Christian home.
Right. Again, we're not jettisoning, popular culture or anybody for that matter, Taylor Swift. Take what you can that's good, but understand that she is someone who is actively pursuing that which is at odds with all that is good and right and true about the gospel and the scriptures. And we have to teach our faith and catechize our children as if the pursuit of Christ is really the greatest joy. It is really the greatest beauty. Personal autonomy and empowerment isn't the chief end of our life. We just cannot mindlessly take this in as she's an otherwise wholesome person. She has the look of someone who's somewhat wholesome and has the disposition of uh, that type of person, and has a very likable, approachable demeanor. The enemy is not going to come to you typically with skulls and crossbones and stench and things that you've already decided that you don't like. He's going to come at you as an angel of light, and this is the way that it works. And so we've got to be uh, critical thinkers and biblical thinkers as we approach the popular culture in which we live.
Yeah, yeah, that critical thinking. I mean, as we were talking about this, it was another thing was coming to mind just through this, half hour we've been on here, or whatever it is. But like, even the movie Frozen, in which I thought it was a great movie. I'm not down on Frozen, but that song, as I would see, "Let It Go," all these little girls. I mean, every little girl was singing "Let It Go." Every little girl knew it by heart. Well, how do you ever know, like, when you sing a hymn or a Christian song, and it just resonates in your soul, and the
Right.
song, which is based on Scripture, and it's just. And I see this, by the way, in people in hospitals, older people, they may have dementia, whatever. You start singing a hymn and they can sing it and they know it, and it's deep, it's buried in them deep. Well,
Right.
what do you
Right.
think it does to all these little girls, millions and millions of them, singing, let it go, I'm one with the wind and sky, let it go, you'll never see me cry. Here I stand and here I stay, let the storm rage on. Turn away and slam the door. I mean, it's like, and it's cute and it's beautiful. And it's like, we're teaching people to be individualists, to live in ways that are, and again, I mean, I'm not saying don't let them sing "Let It Go." I'm just saying, at what point does, like, in your homes, have you allowed things to become idolatrous? Like, and we do need to think critically about this. And I will not be surprised when all these people, all these supposed Swifties, leave the church. It won't even surprise me. Why would they stay when they've been taught this is good and beautiful and she's a great example of whatever, you know? And look, I wish her the best, but her track record has shown she will move on from Travis Kelce, and there'll be another guy and there'll be another song about it. This is what it is. I preached last week on the triumphal entry, just where I happen to be in John's gospel. And, I was talking about, like, Jesus, he's got this entourage, they're following him from Bethany and the towns, and they're coming to meet him in Jerusalem, and they're saying, Hosanna, son of David. And there's all this hope. And I was just talking about, like, heroes, and, he receives, like, this hero's welcome because they think he's like this political king who's going to bring them victory, and who are our heroes now? It's celebrities. It's not warriors. It's not,
Who do you want to be
and
the heroes
celebrities.
for your children?
Right. Right. And it's superficial, right? Like, and I know neither of us were this old enough, but I mean, alive, but like when the Beatles came to America, and they were just a dorky boy band. I said it.
Right.
Go look at the video and the pictures, and the videos, especially with them, with their hair, and they're a dorky boy band back then. And it's the Beatles invade the U.S., Beatlemania. 2 years after that, because then they hit international prominence, is when John Lennon said, "We're bigger than Jesus Christ." And, blasphemous, yes, but a truer statement probably is rarely ever uttered, because it is true. Celebrity, it's superficial, and it's training hearts and minds.
It does. It does teach us, though, that we are looking for someone bigger and more awesome than ourselves or anyone else that we
Yes.
ordinarily engage with, to follow, to shape our life, to help our lives find meaning. That person displays himself not on the stage with lighting and costumes, but that person comes to us through the word and through the sacrament. He comes to us in prayer. He comes to us through the means of grace, which are much less. There's much less fanfare behind it, but it's much deeper. He's much deeper. We need to think about who we're serving and what it looks like to put off the old man and to put on the new man. What we're allowing into our hearts and souls is what's going to come out of us. And so think about that with your children. Think about that for yourself. I think that we all need to be challenged in that regard.
Yes, think about that for yourself. Because I mean, I'm not trapped by Taylor Swift, but I got my own things that I over prioritize, and those things shape me, catechize me. And so, yeah, thanks for focusing us back on Jesus Christ, who actually does satisfy those needs, who tells us what's good, true, and beautiful, and shows us by his very life. So, thanks, Darin. Interesting conversation. I will direct all negative comments and questions and concerns to you.
Yes.
This is Grace to Stand, signing off.